Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about the United States presidential election. Specifically, we're talking about some people's reactions to it. In fact, we're talking about a typical Trump detractor who once again is breaking down in tears over politics. I'm of course talking about late night comedy show host called Jimmy Kimmel. He hosts Live with Jimmy Kimmel, and he's been known to get more woke and political over recent years, particularly under the Trump administration. We've talked about Jimmy Kimmel a number of times. He's been caught lying about Trump. He's been caught crying over Trump. He's cried on his show multiple times. He's like a big beta baby. It's super cringe. He is not a grown man anymore. He used to be funny at some point. In fact, he used to make jokes on his show called The Man Show, a show in which he appeared in transracial makeup, something that's supposed to be really, really racist right now. I'm not necessarily a big fan of it, but this guy is hypocritical at best. He is a total political hack at worst, and we're going to talk about his new attempt to cry and manipulate his audience through emotions. This comes from this article, as you can see here, and it says, Jimmy Kimmel, it is unimaginable more than 68 million people voted Trump. The late night host expressed shock at the president's support. What more did Donald Trump have to do to show us that he's insane? Now, this is coming from the Hollywood bubble. This is coming from someone who doesn't understand Trump's appeal, who doesn't understand how the real world works. He is in an ivory tower in Hollywood hosting this late night show. He is not funny anymore. He's turned into this political hack. So it's not surprising he can't see the allure of Trump. Trump is a man of the people. Sure, he's a rich person too, comes from a rich family. He has $1 billion company, but he still understands everyday Americans. He understands us, our troubles, what we want, what we don't want, what this country needs as well. So it's not surprising that 68 million plus people voted for Trump. That's about how much voted for both candidates when you split the votes down the middle. It was pretty close, pretty much 50-50, like how it's been the last few elections. And the fact that this brings Jimmy Kimmel to tears, it doesn't say what he thinks it says. He thinks this is like a noble, like Oscar winning moment. He does this like to cry, this fake cry, like he's on an Oscar movie trying to win best actor or something. But really, it makes him look weak. It makes him look like he's troubled, like he has some going on, like he's crying about politics, like he's a big old baby. And the worst part is, and this is what I hate about a lot of these rich people, these ivory tower sitting sorts of people in their gated communities and stuff. Well, what does Jimmy have to cry about? I mean, the dude is super rich, super successful. He's got everything he could ever hope for. He's got a wife. He's got kids. He's got this cushy gig late night. Everyone watches and sees what he has to say every night of the week. He is rich, loaded, everything. All of his dreams have come true, but somehow he's still not happy. And that's the kind of thing, the kind of footnote for that is money doesn't always make you happy. This guy will never be happy. He's the type of person who has to have it both ways. Like he can't be rich and famous. He also has to have everyone like doing exactly what he wants. He has to have the presidency too. He has to have control of all of government. The government has to give everyone free healthcare or whatever silly demands he's trying to make himself happy. And I just think it's a totally sad case and it's funny to watch. So let's go ahead and read on and see if there's anything else to this. While the official election results remain inconclusive, Jimmy Kimmel sounded relieved on Wednesday about the possibility that President Donald Trump may have lost. I have to say I'm very happy and relieved that it looks like we're finally sending this monster back to Mar-a-Lago, Kimmel said, but I'm also shocked that it was this close. Turnout for Tuesday's election was the highest in the United States in more than 100 years, leading to record vote totals for both Democrat nominee Joe Biden and Trump. While ballots are still being counted as of Thursday morning in states such as Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona, Biden has already set a record for receiving the most votes in the history of the country with more than 71 million. Trump, meanwhile, has received almost 69 million votes thus far, an increase from nearly 63 million ballots cast for him in 2016. No Republican candidate has ever received more votes than Trump's current total. So this is actually, to me, interesting, but also a red flag. This is one of the reasons I think this election will be questioned and studied and investigated, and this is not going to be over anytime soon. I mean, first of all, we're talking about all these major battleground states that are still counting, and they all happen to be liberal strongholds that Trump was winning the night of the election. He was winning in a lot of these states, and then all of a sudden they stopped counting, and the next day they come up with hundreds of thousands of Biden votes out of nowhere. It's absolutely insane, absolutely crazy, and likely something very nefarious going on. The next thing to point out is the disparity in the votes here. I mean, the fact that Biden has more votes than any other person, that should raise a red flag for everyone. I mean, think about it. He even has more votes than Obama did in 2008. 2008 was a landslide for Obama. He had lots of energy and hype and people on his side. That was the year he became the first black president. So surely you'd think the turnout there would be better, especially compared to Biden, who is the weakest candidate ever. He's this really, really old white guy who's been hiding in his basement every night. He could barely drum up 10, 20, a dozen people to his rallies, his so-called rallies, which just had people standing in these weird 6-foot circles. I mean, there was no energy or enthusiasm for Biden. So to say that he had all these votes and is the highest voted person ever, that to me is questionable. That to me says, hey, they probably fudged those votes and gave him millions of fake votes, or they changed votes, or however they might have do it. They changed the count or whatever it may be. And many of us saw this coming. We knew the mail-in ballot thing would be a mess. We knew that cheating would be rampant, fraud would be out there. And these are just the red flags that the news in the Vanity Fair article here, they're trying to put them out there as matter of fact and as if there's nothing to see here. But I think a real reporter would raise some questions. The thin margins of Biden's potential victory, however, left Kimmel confused. It is unimaginable to me that close to half of American voters saw what this man had done to this country over the last 4 years, Kimmel said, before rattling off a litany of actions and statements that he felt should have been disqualifying for the president. So I'm interested in what these lists are, because he acts like the president was ruining everything. He acts like everything was failed in the last 4 years, even though we were more successful than ever. We had a booming economy before this COVID thing turned into a disaster and all this other stuff that was a lot of stuff beyond our control. So let's read into these reasons, because I can already see a few lies within them. First, he says he kowtowed to Vladimir Putin. I don't see that at all. I think that's just a Russia collusion kind of inference. He's trying to bring up Russia, get people thinking about Russia, even though that was a fake thing that was confirmed not true. There was no evidence for it. The only thing Trump did with Putin was talk and negotiate with him like a world leader, like a professional, like he should. That's the same thing he did with Kim Jong-un, which is also criticized for. In the next line, you see Jimmy Kimmel saying he cozy up to Kim Jong-un. Well, that's actually him. He ended the Korean War, dude. The Korean War and the conflict there has been at a stalemate for decades. He stopped that conflict. We were actually worried about getting attacked by Kim Jong-un at one point. Trump diffused that problem, just like he diffused tensions with Putin in Russia. So this is stuff that should commend him. This is stuff that should get him props. I mean, the Democrats antagonize these people and they act like that's heroic. It's like, no, let's try negotiating. Let's try a peaceful negotiation and get everyone getting along instead of all this fighting and wars. That's what the Democrats really want. Next, he says he alienated his allies. I mean, if you say so, buddy. He says he put children in cages. This actually reminds me a lot of that list of lies that was on that Simpsons episode. We talked about the same kinds of lines on the Simpsons episode, and the same lies were in there. They have the fine people hoax down here. I can't ignore that. And then they also have the cages hoax, which is, this is a cage system that was set up by Obama. He created this system and that just happened to carry on under Trump. But all of a sudden, when Trump comes into office, it's his fault. And they take pictures of these cages and act like Trump is caging children. But it's like, no, dude, that's not what it's at all. These are illegal criminals crossing the border with kids along with them. What are they supposed to do? Just because they get put in a room that has a fence doesn't mean it's a cage. They're not being caged like dogs. They actually hang out in pretty cool areas and have like video games to play and free food and stuff. It's not that bad, for one. For two, it was set up under Obama. It's insane. Next, Kimmel says he villainized the press, hid his tax returns. Who cares about the tax returns? Who cares? Those things were leaked and nothing happened. Next, villainizing the press. I mean, the press are the villains. They're the enemies of the people. They lie to us every day. Why should we treat them like heroes? Why should we act like they're honest or good people? They're totally biased. They've been proven liars. They've been trying to attack Trump ever since forever. I mean, why would he be cool with them? Why would someone like Trump, who's been attacked by the press and lied about, why would he then all of a sudden act nice to them? It doesn't make sense. He tear gassed peaceful protesters. He pardoned criminal buddies. He extorted Ukraine. This is insane. Oh my God. Okay, so first of all, Trump isn't tear gassing people, okay? Trump doesn't go out to the streets and stop protesters. This is law enforcement. This is done locally. They have processes they set up on their own. Trump isn't out there giving orders, telling people to send out tear gas either. It's absolutely insane. And pardoning criminal buddies, I mean, the whole reason you pardon someone is because they supposedly did something wrong. So it's kind of implied that they might be criminal. I don't think they are. I think sometimes it's just done to get people out of trouble and get away away from these biased courts or something. But the Ukraine thing is really rich. Okay, the Ukraine thing is rich because, oh, he extorted Ukraine. That's the call that got him impeached when he asked Ukraine if Biden was corrupt and doing shady stuff. And well, many months later, and we find out that was true. Biden has dealings with Ukraine. He was in charge of public policy and U.S. relations there. And then he got his son a big cushy job there. And that was exposed. And that was proving Trump should have asked about that. That's not extorting them. That's asking them if there's a problem. Next, he says he misled about COVID, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is a bunch of BS. He's just lying. Jimmy Kimmel's lying. And then he says that Trump's lying. He's a liar and a cheat who wants them to stop counting thousands of legitimate votes. How does Kimmel know this? Kimmel is the worst. God, I'm so riled up right now. Kimmel concluded, citing Trump's attempts to falsely contest the election. Half of us want to keep going for 4 more years. This picture says polar coaster. Kimmel said it wasn't even about voting for Biden so much as denouncing Trump. I don't care what you think of Joe Biden, he added. If Joe Biden stopped by my house every morning to key my car and pee in my pool, there would still be no question which one of them I'd vote for. None. Okay. He would vote for Biden no matter what because he hates Trump. He has Trump derangement syndrome. He doesn't understand the truth. He can't see things clearly. He's too cuddled. He's too much in this liberal bubble. He hasn't left Hollywood in so many years. He's out of touch. This is just another out of touch celebrity going after Trump, not understanding how Trump stands up for the little guy, stands up for the real people. Kimmel doesn't care. He doesn't care if our taxes go up. He doesn't care about security or the border or stopping illegal people from coming in here. He's sitting in his ivory tower. He's got a gated community. This stuff doesn't affect him. All he cares about is power, fame, money, greed, and crying on camera like a big baby. So that about wraps things up. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Tell me what you think about Jimmy Kimmel. Tell me what you think about this post, about this video, about him crying and lying about Trump. These same lies that have been spread by liberals over and over again. We saw it on The Simpsons, another major network, and now we're seeing it here. So tell me what you think. Comment below, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you on the next post.